Yeah, I think that's an amazing approach. I think the way I do that is that's really good. It's got me thinking now.
Sajjad, really awesome to meet you here. So nice for you to do this. I really look forward to this conversation. I know we've chatted on LinkedIn a few times, and I've just been so excited about actually having this conversation with you and getting to know you more and allowing everyone else the opportunity as well. So, the three things I try to do with these conversations is to highlight who people are, what they do, and how they can help others. So, let's get right into it. Who are you?
Thank you, Felix, and thanks for having me on your podcast. Who am I? I've pondered this question since you've asked this all the time, and I guess I'd say I'm a student. I love learning, and I'm always looking for something better or seeking the truth, if you like. So, any way that I can improve my life, any way that I can change something to become a better version of me, that's who I am. Um, but what labels do I have? Yeah, I'm a son, a brother, a dad, a husband. I've been working in technology for over 25 years, and recently sort of shifting over to life coaching full time because I found that actually what brings me the most joy is working with people individually and being able to help them grow. And that's who I am, really.
That's beautiful. I love that. And I too am the kind of person that wants to learn all the time and, find the truth, if you will, just finding ways to improve my life and the life of others, constantly improving, adding efficiency, right? All those things. How did you get to be this person?
Wow. I'll give you the short version of the story, but
Sure.
I guess I worked in tech since I started out. I was fascinated by technology, and my uncle had a computer. I thought, well, I really want to do this. And he said, "Oh, go and speak to this guy. He's a consultant, and he might be able to help you on your journey." And this guy that I spoke to is a close friend of mine, became my best friend and mentor, and helped me get jobs in IT initially when I was still at college. And college in the UK is between sort of 16 and 18, so before you go to university. And I started working in professionally on a service desk and grew. And in I started taking a leadership position back in 2016 in the corporate environment. And I found the more removed I got from working with people directly and fixing problems, with machines, but not really seeing the impact on people, the less satisfied I was at work. And I couldn't quite work out what was going on. And then in December 22, my wife wanted to do this life coaching course. Um, and she said, "Oh, let's do it together." I was like, "No, I think you should do it. I don't think we can both afford to do it at the same time." And she sort of, I think, used emotional blackmail and said, "I think if you don't do it with me, I don't think I'll do it either." I was like, "Okay, okay, okay, we'll both do it together." Um, and we got on this course with the Jay Shetty School, and it was life changing. So this January 23, last year, we started the course. And I think doing it together was really good for us both as well because we got to learn who we were as individuals as well as being able to work better together. We had challenges in our relationships, as most couples do, and that really helped us to understand each other better too. So, um, and then I started just doing coaching in the evenings. After we sort of graduated, I continued to coach people, even if it was for free, just to keep my practice down because I found I loved just listening to stories from other people. I'm not one to talk about myself a lot. So this conversation feels a little bit awkward to me because I have to talk about me. I rather listen to you, your story, Felix. And I found that coaching was the best thing for me because I got to listen. And occasionally we get to prompt the client, right? We don't get to give advice, we don't tell them what to do. And I found that so fulfilling. So I continued to do that. And then at the end of January this year, my job was made redundant. I was laid off. And I thought that's a perfect opportunity now to try and transition to life coaching full time and do this as a business, because that's all I want to do is just talk to people or listen to people and learn from their experiences. Because each time I talk to somebody new, my horizon widens and I get to see another perspective of the world, right? So yeah, I found that fascinating, and that's how I got here, in short.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I kind of want to know something about how you came across coaching, and the reason simply being, even from my own experience, I had a very limited mindset on coaching. I didn't know what coaches were. Even my girlfriend, who is a counselor, still doesn't fully understand what coaches do. But for you and me, who have been through coaching with a certified coach, we know the magic that happens, right? And the
Yes.
secrets that can be unlocked, and the personal growth that can really happen with a great coach. So, did you have any experience with coaching before you went to Jay Shetty School, or um, uh, what did you know about coaching before you became a coach yourself?
Yeah, I did encounter a life coach, I think back in 2018, I think. And I teach at the Islamic Center on a Sunday, so it's like Sunday school for Muslims, if you like. And they had a day where we took all the kids out to see this life coach, and he was demonstrating the power of NLP and changing behaviors and things like that. And I watched him on stage and I thought, I want to be like this guy, to be able to help individuals. And he talked about how he worked in deprived areas where there was knife crime and, help the youngsters get out of that and into a better way of life. And I thought, I want to do that. I started looking into it. But at that time in my life, I didn't have the resources to pursue anything formally. And that sort of just stayed in the back of my mind about the impact that could have on individuals, and always thought I want to do that. At the same time, I was sort of following people like Tim Ferriss on podcasts. We're talking to different individuals all the time. Again, it was just listening to their life stories, and I thought that's what I want to do. Just listen to people's life stories and impact people's lives. And this opportunity, when it came with the J Shetty School for my wife, seemed to be the perfect blend, if you like, where you get to listen to everybody and then um, ask uh, some questions to get them to think slightly differently. At the end of the day, I tell everybody, look, there's no secret to life coaching. It's about changing your mindset. That's the secret to it all, right? Everything else is the action that comes as a result of that mind shift.
Yeah, that's very true. So, in that same on that same topic, again, one of the reasons actually started having these conversations was to showcase to other people who may not know what coaches actually do, how they work, how they can actually change your life, but demonstrating through these conversations what coaches do and how they can help people. So, what do you think is missing in the population? I mean, I feel like the deeper I go into the coaching sphere, the more I recognize that people really need coaches. But most people don't know about coaches. They don't know about coaching, and it's really hard to get them to see sometimes the benefits they could derive from coaching. I mean, obviously there's therapists and counselors who can deal with diagnosable conditions like depression, anxiety, and whatnot, and that's not what coaches do. But there's everyone else in life has struggles. Everyone in life deals with something. And that's really where coaches could be so beneficial. But trying to get people to see that is incredibly difficult. So just wondering what your perspective on that is, and what experience you have gained over the last almost year and a half now, on trying to showcase to others the true benefits of coaching and what coaching really is, because I feel like that's something that's still missing across society. I mean, I'm also talking obviously from the U.S. standpoint. You're in England now, so you have a slightly different social environment as well. But I spoke with a coach out of Germany, and he was having the same issues as well with trying to figure out how can I show people the power of coaching? How can I show people how coaching can really transform their lives? I see they need it. They
Hmm.
don't.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Felix. And I think I heard you say that, even you thought that coaching was people selling snake oil. It was just some way to make money and extract people's money for doing nothing. And I think for me, and I'm speaking from my personal experience, I went through a lot of financial struggles, relationship struggles, um, career struggles in my life. And looking back, had I had a coach who asked me these powerful questions to say, what about this? What if you thought differently about this? We're constantly having that scarcity mindset about, I can't do this because I am this, or I'm limited. I don't have any money. I need money to make money, whatever it was. And had I had the opportunity to work with a coach like me, that would have helped me get to where I wanted to get to much quicker in life. And that's what the clients really pay for, isn't it? It's just that uh, accelerated journey to their outcome. And I think the way I do it in my practice is just reach out to people I know and say, hey, how about we have a chat? And I'd like to show you what I'm doing, rather than try to explain coaching, because coaching is a tool. And I was like, oh, I've learned how to use a hammer. Now all I can do is just, you know, wave this hammer around and knock things into the wall, or walk around the street with a hammer. I could be seen to be dangerous, right? So it's about knowing when to take out this hammer and start putting the nail in to hang something more beautiful up on the wall. And it's just saying, let's have a chat and let me see if you've got a challenge I can help you with. As you know, we were told to sort of pick a niche, and I've said I want to help people in career coaching, people like me who struggled having a seemingly successful job, but didn't feel satisfied inside, like you were, right? You were a surgeon saving lives, and yet you thought, I'm not enjoying this, it's not fulfilling. So there was something else inside of him, because we're all different and unique, and we all yearn for different things inside our core values. It's just helping people to see what that is for themselves and then find it and help them along the way, so they can then skip a few steps that maybe you and I had to go through to get to this outcome. And the only way to do it is to demonstrate it to them and say, here, have a look at this. What do you think? And if they feel it's worth it, because there'll be some skeptics, there'll be some people who are not willing to make the change. But if they see the value, they'll say, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Let's do some more work together, because I really want to speed up this journey. I'm going really, really slow.
And that speeding up the journey, I think, is such an important aspect. I mean, I definitely have noticed that for myself. The work I did for myself, reading the books, meditation, journaling, doing all that self growth work, right? That self development, that self help stuff that you find in the at the bookstore. It took me years to get somewhere, and I made some improvements, but my growth absolutely exponentially accelerated once I started working with a coach, right? In 4 months of working with a coach, I did much, 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 much more than in 4 years of doing it on my own. And I think that's an important piece, right? In terms of that acceleration, like why wait? Like what do you have to lose? Well, you have to lose everything, right? How much longer can you go on living like this? If you're truly that unsatisfied right now, how much longer can you go on? And coaching really is a shortcut to that end result. It's not a magic pill. It's not going to fix everything overnight, but you can definitely accelerate your growth tremendously if you work with a great coach. Which I guess brings me to my next question for you. You and I definitely have a lot of, we share the same thought patterns. It seems like to me. We've had similar experiences, even with a coaching journey. So, what do you think defines a great coach, or what sets a great coach apart from any other coach?
I think the secret to a good coach is listening. Um, and quite often with my friends, I can be the first one to interrupt and try and answer the question before they even finish it. But when I'm coaching, I have to be very mindful that I'm listening to what uh, the client's saying, and what they're not saying, and what their body is saying, and the body language is telling me. And then to say, oh, something just shifted in your body language or your tone. What was that? And they'll sort of they have to stop and think about that a little bit more. and giving them the space to think out loud, because I think that's the thing that people don't get to do, um, is think out loud with somebody as a mirror to challenge them in their thoughts too. So you might say, I want to go to London from Birmingham, which is where I live, in the quickest way possible. And then you start to take detours. And I say, Felix, why are you taking this detour? You told me you wanted to go in the quickest way possible. It's like, oh, no, no. You may have a reason to take that detour because you want to buy something along the way, or you just thought, oh, that looks pretty. Let me just take this scenic route. And it's like, Felix, if you want to go down this scenic route, that's not the quickest route that you told me you wanted to go down. You decide what you want to do. Ultimately, you make the decisions as the person in control of your life, but it's just listening to what they're saying and then challenging them with what they've said they want to do against what they're doing and their beliefs, because we have lots of beliefs culturally. It's but we grow old, we'll become unhealthy, we'll, you know, XYZ, especially in the South Asian subcontinent, community from subcontinent, it's expected that as you sort of hit 40, life goes downhill, you're going to fall ill, and, your health's going to deteriorate. But it doesn't have to be that way, not if you look after your body and, do the right things. But it's just a mindset that we're brought up with. And you have to challenge those cultural beliefs too. And like you said, in Germany, it's very hard to convince people that, life coaching is worth it. I guess the culture there is of efficiency. So people are thinking, well, I'm already efficient, what else do I need in my life? But if if they can experience it, it's getting out of a slower car and going into a faster car. Think, oh, I could go faster. Show me more. How do I buy this car?
Yeah, and I think what you said there in terms of holding up a mirror to someone is definitely where the magic of coaching comes from. Even that biofeedback to say, "Hey, your tone changed, your position changed." Those are things that you really don't recognize when you do it by yourself in the mirror, because you look in the mirror and say, "Wow, I'm awesome," right? Or "Wow, I suck." But the changes that happen as a result of changing your mindsets are sometimes so subtle you don't recognize them yourself. It's someone else pointing that out to you and say, "Hey, your tone changed, your position changed. There's something different about you today," that makes people pause and all of a sudden think about that. Right? That's why as a client, when you're in that coaching session, you're like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Right? And you take a second to think about that because you didn't recognize for yourself. So you yourself, looking in the mirror, will never recognize it. You need that other person, and that's where the coach comes in, right? To provide that biofeedback, that sounding board, that you know metaphorical mirror to show, hey, look, this is different about you right now. This is where you're going. But even like you said, right, with the driving from London to Birmingham, that I think that's a great way, the way I look at coaching as well, or at least what the package of coaching does to someone. Right, you got to have a starting point, and you got to have an end point in mind. And that's, even in your car, right? The GPS needs a starting point and end point. Otherwise, it can't get you to your destination. And if you don't have that, if you just get in the car and drive, who knows where you will end up? And that's where how a lot of people live their lives. They just get in the car every morning, drive off, not knowing exactly where it is that they want to go, and they end up somewhere, and then they're unhappy and they don't know how they ended up there. So then, as a coach, providing that biofeedback, say, look, this is where we're starting from. We got to work on that first. Where are we starting from? Where do you want to end up? Right? That future visioning of what do you actually want to be? Who do you want to be? What do you want to become? Right? And then we can connect the dots with the plan. And that route can be circuitous, right? It could be, you can take the scenic route, you can take the short route, you can take the fast route, whatever you want, right? You can take the train, you can take the car, whatever works best for you. But you got to know where you're starting from and where you're ending, and then connecting the dots with that constant feedback about, are we making progress? Are we getting closer to your destination, to that vision that you have for yourself? And without that constant feedback, you don't know where you're at, right? I mean, we are a communal species. We're meant to live this life together, work together, grow together, love together. And having a coach is different than having a good friend or family, because those people are subjectively involved with you. They they're going to give you all the good news. They're going to tell you how awesome you are and how good looking you are, right? But they're not going to be that objective voice and saying, is this actually getting you closer to you want to be? because they're just going to cheer you on. They're cheerleaders. That's all they are. Um, so I do want to, I would like to make that more, more available to people as well. So knowing that, knowing that this is what a great coach does, who would want to work with you, or who do you want to work with? Who are your ideal clients?
I've been thinking a lot about this, and as I said, I sort of started marketing it to professionals like me who sort of maybe struggling with not finding satisfaction or fulfillment in what they do. So I started there, and I've been thinking more along the lines of working with people who might be entrepreneurs because I work with a few, and they say that it's a lonely journey because everybody around you doesn't realize you have to do everything by yourself. And having a unbiased, non-judgmental sounding board or a mirror who can challenge you and really ask you about where you're going and how you want to get there was really going to be beneficial. So more recently, I've been thinking about trying to focus on entrepreneurs who've got their own businesses and want to get somewhere faster. And I think they would really benefit from that. Again, you know, if both of us are coaches, Felix, a different kind of person will find your message and style attractive. Another set of people will find my style attractive. So, I always feel like we can collaborate together because there's plenty of opportunity because the people who will come to me will be very different to the kind of people that will come to you. Um, there'll be cultural nuances, there'll be all sorts of background, and somebody in tech might relate to me better than somebody in the medical profession might relate to you better. It's just those kind of nuances that people might find that they can relate to with me, and that's why I say let's have a chat. Let's see if we can get on with each other to begin with. And once you have that rapport, then you can say, yeah, I think there is a fit here. We could work together.
That fit is so important, right? You got to be able to vibe with that person. You got to be able to trust that person. I mean, like you said, some people might find your style better. Some people might find my style better, and that's perfectly fine, right? I mean, we're not meant. I'm not meant to steal your clients. You're not here to steal mine. As a matter of fact, the collaboration beats competition any day. So if I come across somebody that is like, yeah, on paper you look great, Felix, but talking to you, I just don't connect. I could say that's perfectly fine, but tell you what, you're the kind of person that I know Sajjad likes to work with. Why don't you have a chat with him, right? And I love doing that because at the end of the day, I'm doing this less for me. I'm really doing this more for the other person, and I want them to succeed, right? And for me to say, no, you have to work with me because I'm the only person that's going to fix you is not going to do that, right? Especially if that connection doesn't exist, and it has to go both ways. I have to be able to connect with you as well in
Mm,
order for me to be a good coach to you. So having that good relationship is so important. And that's why it's so important for us coaches even to collaborate so that we can refer people to the right coach. Because we know, all of us know more coaches than any, lay person out
yes,
there, right? And so
yes.
for the best thing we can do is to say, look, I think based on what I know about you today, this is a better coach for you. That person, you're gonna vibe more with them. They're more your style. They're
Yep.
more talking about the topics that interest you, where you're trying to still grow in. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you on all those counts. It's actually the other thought I just had. This was something that I heard long ago, and I don't remember where I heard it. But if you have an ox on a farm pulling like a tiller or something, I'm not a farmer. It can pull a certain amount of weight behind it, right? It's a certain
Mm,
amount of resistance that the ox
yes.
can pull in order to till the land. But if you put two oxen together, it doesn't double the amount of work they can do. It actually 10x's the amount of work that they can do. And that's really where, and that's all mindset then, right? Because it's not physical prowess. It's all mindset. It's all up here. It's like the ox can look to the right or the left and say, hey, I'm not alone in this. And
Yes.
that's the power of coaching, right? All of a sudden,
Mm,
you're not alone in this. Just like you. I mean, I work with entrepreneurs too. I have a lot of startup entrepreneurs that I work with, and it's like you said, it's a lonely journey, especially in the
mm,
in the early days when, like you said, there's I think there's really two reasons. One is you're doing everything, right? Because
yes.
You have to.
Yes.
But two, I also find a lot of times friends and family don't see what you see as the
Mm,
future as an entrepreneur. And that's why you don't have that support because they don't believe in you. They don't see what you see. They can't support you. Say, well, that's great. That's awesome. Why don't you just get a job at Costco? Right.
man.
Um, right.
Yeah.
But you have that vision as an entrepreneur trying to build something. You have a vision. You're like, no, 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 I know I want to do this. I know it needs to be done. I can do this,
Mm,
but then you're all alone. And so it's so important. But even there, especially with the startups, the hard part is trying to get them to see that there is a return on that investment in coaching.
yeah.
It's easy for startup entrepreneurs to spend money on a web designer or
Yes.
a fractional CFO, right? All these like business things, but on the personal growth, it's really hard for them to spend the money. I did some research on this. There's some very very limited data on what the ROI on coaching really is. By and large, it's positive. The only problem is that a lot of times it doesn't become realized until months or maybe even years later. But the
Mm,
studies so far are small. I mean, 5, 6
mm,
people per study. It's really small. So we don't have any good, solid data to really show what the ROI is. But I do think there is an ROI to coaching for entrepreneurs
mm,
because it focuses your mindset and helps you succeed. What's been where do you think on that? Like, do you have any ideas on what the ROI might be, or what maybe it's not even a monetary ROI, right? Maybe it's just the you if you don't get the coaching, you're more likely to fail as an entrepreneur
yeah.
versus you get the coaching, you're more likely to succeed. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I'll come back to that. But you said something earlier which is really important. You said that, the friends and family of entrepreneurs don't support them. I think I've been in that situation where they really mean well for you. So they don't want you to go onto that tightrope and walk it because they want you to be down in that safety net. And so they say,
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
get up there. It's a bit dangerous. I don't think you might fall. You might hurt yourself. So they're trying to protect you, and in that protection, they might be limiting you. So you've got to do what you've got to do. And that's why your friends and family may not be the best people to help you through that journey. In terms of return on investment, I couldn't say. Sometimes it's very difficult to put a number on these things. And I'll give you an example. Somebody I worked with recently had to go and pitch for a business investment. So they were just going, and I said, "What would you like to work on?" I was like, "I want to work on being able to be more empathetic and also be able to pitch at the right level." So now that doesn't necessarily equate to anything financial because they're saying, "I want to grow in my soft skills," but that would potentially allow them to go and generate more revenue for their business. And had they not done that, they wouldn't get there as quick, if that makes sense. So it could be soft skills. It's like, oh, what am I missing here? What am I not doing right in my emotional response to things? And I actually sat there and observed them, and they went into conversations and meetings with clients, and it was very detailed. And I said, you have to be aware that these people don't speak your language. So you have to step back and say, what language do they speak? And can I start speaking in their language first and slowly transition over into my language once I explain the terminology. And one of the things I found in technology, especially, is that a lot of guys who work, guys, and I don't know about gals, but guys at least, seem to have this arrogance about, oh, people are stupid, they don't understand technology, but you took time to learn it and you understand it. Just like, if I was talking to you, Felix, you know stuff about medicine that I don't know. So, you might look at me and say, "What, are you stupid? You don't know about your own biology?" And I'm like, "Well, I have no idea." So it's not about having that arrogance. It's about saying, actually, these guys don't speak my language. So you don't start using medical terminology with me when you're talking about my anatomy and, talking about specific muscles and where they are. It's like, hey, this area of your body, this is what this is. And if you do this, this is what's going to happen, and explain it in a language that I understand. And I'll say, oh, thank you, Felix, for speaking my language. And I think it's just even giving those soft skills very hard to monetize the return. But if they see a value in reducing friction in their relationships, personal and professional, they'll see a value on that. But only they can put a number on that, if you know what I mean.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, absolutely, it does, and I think even on the soft skills, one of the things that always fascinates me. I mean, we talk about breath work a lot in the self.
Mm,
I don't know if you do any of it, but I spoke with Dave Gieselman, for example, a few weeks ago, and he's a breath worker. Like that's what he does. Has a huge following as a result of that too. But breathing is something so fundamental to all of us, right? We do it
mm,
automatically. We don't even think about it, and yet there's so much power in learning how
mm,
to breathe correctly, how to utilize breathing to your advantage, right? You can actually train yourself to do more than just bring oxygen in.
wow,
And it's something so fundamental to all of us. We all do it, but most of us
mm,
don't understand it, how to actually use it to our advantage. And it's the same thing you do. Obviously, technical skills is something easy to understand. Like you said, these people going out and studied it, right, for years potentially. So they obviously
mm,
have a very different knowledge set on that. But even something as fundamental and basic as breathing for all of us
mm.
humans is something most of us don't really understand.
Yeah, I think I need to catch up on that podcast. I haven't heard it, and I think you're absolutely right. And breathing is something we all do, but do we do it well? And it's about learning to do it to its maximum efficiency so that we can get the most out of it. I think that's what you're talking about. And I was on a course last week with Rich Litvin, and there was a lady there who does breath work, and she was saying, "Well, how do I pitch it to execs? Because I want to talk about breath work." And he said the same thing. He said, "Speak their language. What will that allow them to do? If they can make better decisions because they're better balanced and centered and not stressed, if that's what's going to get them to perform more optimally, you talk to them about that rather than the breath work. The breath work is just another tool to help you get them to be more optimal, right? So it's speaking the language of the client and saying, what is it you need? And if you need to do this, that, and the other because you're stressed and you're finding yourself going from one meeting to the other, well, how do you center yourself before you start the next meeting so you're not then bringing the baggage over from the last meeting into the next one, etc., and all the stress and any, you know, uh, heated discussions you might have had or whatever, and come into a meeting fresh, unbiased, and say, okay, let's start clear here. How do I make effective decisions in this meeting?
Yeah.
And then reset and reset.
Exactly. That's exactly right. But yeah, even just doing something as basic as that breath work can have profound impact. So, speaking of some of these fundamentals, what does your coaching practice look like? Do you have specific steps you like your clients to go through? Do you have specific programs? Is there some common thread throughout all your sessions? Do you like to work in person or virtual? Like, what does that look like? If we had to pull the curtain back and somebody wants to know, what is it actually like to work with Sajjad? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think I don't have a set process structure because it's bespoke. Each person will have a different requirement. Somebody might need just some confidence prepping before an interview. Somebody might want to take specific sets to quit their job and do something else on the side which they enjoy doing. And they might just need a brief check in on a weekly basis to track their progress. And they don't need a lot of work because they're already on the way to that journey. And other people might need, an hour a week to discuss their week in detail, to talk about what happened, what could have gone better, etc. So it really does depend on the individual that I'm working with. Mostly it's on Zoom just because a lot of my clients are outside of Birmingham. And I have a few clients in the US and abroad. So, a lot of it is just virtual. Where I can, if I could meet people in person, I would love to, but I don't have any in my vicinity at the moment.
Yeah. No, and I think what you said, that bespokeness to coaching is, I think, so important. That's really where the power and
Mm,
magic of coaching really comes from, is taking that personalized approach, because we are all unique and different, and we all need unique and different approaches. And in my experience now, throughout all of this, the packages are nice. There's something easy to grasp onto for people. So it's a marketing tool. But for most people, even going through a program, they're going to go at a different pace. They have different
mm,
needs. They come at it from a different experience. They may be more advanced into the program already than some other people. And so the programs, in my mind, for the most part, are probably better marketing tools. I do
Mm,
like to do more of a personalized approach to all of my clients, because all their places in life and what their needs and wants are going to be different, right? And where they want to end up is different and unique and awesome, and that's so cool. Which is a lot more work for us as coaches, but at the same time, it creates better results for our clients, and so I love that. Um, I want to turn the conversation a little bit here for a second. A
sure.
few months ago, I want to say last November, I published a book called The Simple Networking Tool, and it's designed not as a textbook, right? Not how do you network. It's more of a old friendship journal where people fill in, who they want to be
Yes,
when they grow up. What's your favorite color,
I
right?
saw that.
The questions go a little deeper, but unlike a friendship journal, it's not a book you give to someone and they give back to you, and then you give it to someone else. It's designed that you give it to someone who gives it to someone who gives it to someone else, and they're spacing it for 100 people. So the book sort of does the networking by itself. I send out 5 books myself. I have completely lost touch where they're at in the world right now. So who knows if they'll ever get back to me. But the questions in there, the people that I have spoken with that have gotten their hands on the book were actually thrilled with it. They thought it was unique. It was awesome. And so I want to ask you some of those questions out of the book, and actually a few questions even out of the second version that I'm working on. So the first question, quite simply, is where's your favorite thinking spot? Like where do your best ideas come from?
Honestly, in the shower.
I love it. That's
That's
one of mine too. I love it.
yeah. It's the time where I'm not distracted by anything else. Occasionally, I'll listen to a podcast or something, but otherwise, it's the shower is the time I get to think. Sometimes it'll be like in the middle of the night, you just wake up and contemplate. But I find it hard to just sit in one place and just think about stuff. I need to be doing something else. So shower seems to be perfect. Go in there, 10 minutes, and oh, what about this? But the only thing I don't have is a pen and paper to write my ideas down in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
shower.
yeah.
So I need to crack that.
No, that's so true. I think that lack of distraction and complete relaxation. I mean, when I'm in the shower, this is like the one time when I can completely relax and just focus on the shower. It's a bit of a meditative space for me in that sense. I absolutely agree. The shower is definitely one of the best places where for me to have thoughts and new ideas to flourish. So that's awesome. Speaking of locations, what's a place you haven't been to yet but really want to visit?
Um, I have so many. I would love to go to Japan or China because I've not been to the Far East. So I've been to the Middle East, Nordics, been to Malaysia last year for with work. I've been to the US. Again, US is vast too, and I've not been everywhere. But I'd love to go and see the culture in China and Japan, where people live by a certain honor code and things like that. I'd love to experience that.
Yeah. No,
What
that's
about you?
beautiful. Again, there's so many. I think the one that really comes to mind. I'm a sunshine, beach, and palm trees kind of guy. I mean, I love
Okay.
to see different cultures and different places, different foods as well. So going to Japan, for example, is definitely on my list. But if I had, if I were to pick up today and just hit up my Gulf Stream and fly wherever I want, I would probably go to like the Maldives or Bali and
Okay.
just sit on the beach for just with nothing else bothering me, right?
My,
Type of
my
profile
wife
with
would
me,
love
just
that.
yeah. That would probably be top of my list, just to get completely out of the world, go completely elsewhere, disconnect from everything, and just be me on a beach, warm weather, sunshine, and the waves
Brilliant.
crashing on on the beach. That would be perfect. That would be
Brilliant.
mine. This next question is my last one. It's the oddest question I've ever asked, but it's also the one I keep coming back to just because it's the oddest question I've ever asked. So,
Yeah.
would you rather have a cat that barks or a dog that meows?
I think I've heard you ask this question before. I did come up with the answer. I think it would have to be a dog that meows because they're friendly and it'll be quieter than a dog.
Yeah, yeah,
We have a cat right now, and she's great, but not as loyal as a dog would be. She's moody, whereas dogs are just, friendly and loyal all the time. So I think I prefer a dog that meows.
yeah. The other side of that, that I thought was a dog is probably easier to train not to meow than a
Yes.
cat. is to train not to bark.
Yes. Yes. And you
So-
can imagine the cat just barking all night long.
Yes, exactly, right? I mean, cats will just do whatever they want to do, so it's something that you probably cannot train out of them. But with a dog, if it gets annoying, you could probably find a way to quiet that noise down. All right, that's awesome. The other segment here is, of course, every guest has the opportunity to ask the next guest a question, not knowing who that person is, what we're going to be talking about, or what they even do in their own lives.
Mm,
That this is something that I sort of stole from Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO podcast. So
yes.
the question for you today comes from Jared Goldman. Jared's a good friend. He has he actually has a fascinating startup company trying to help video gamers make some money while playing
Okay.
video games, just as a gamer, and not in an e-game kind of way, but also at the same time providing financial education. How do you improve your credit score? How do you buy a house? How do you buy a car? It's an incredible platform that he's one of the one of the startups that I know. So the question he has for you is, if you found a planet just like Earth and you had an infinite amount of resources and could send any amount of people, do you think that starting from nothing but those resources that you choose, you would build up there what we have today here on Earth?
I want to take everybody because I think that's what makes us the human civilization, right? All the mixture of everything, the good and the bad. Otherwise, I'll try to create a world that's only conducive to Sajjad and not Felix. And
Yeah.
so, really boring world because I might quickly find out I don't enjoy my company that much as I thought I did. So I think I'd take everybody just to keep it interesting, and I could travel to another part of the world and experience a different culture, right? Otherwise,
Yeah.
it would just be very, very boring.
So I think the where the question is trying to get to, let's say you take out all 8 billion people from planet Earth and you move them over to this new planet, would the society and the countries and whatever else structures exist there, would those be the same as we have here on Earth,
Okay.
or would it be different?
Would I implement the same rules and laws? I think
Yeah,
I
right.
would.
Would you?
Yeah, I would have a world without borders, and I would try to implement a system where everybody is comfortable. So, Maslow's hierarchy of need, everybody has a space to live, everybody has enough food. When you get the basics covered, then you start to get the best of the human potential, right? You can't be doing the best you can if you're struggling where the next meal is going to come from, whether how you're going to pay the next rent and bills, all of that stuff. So if we have all of the basics covered, and there's plenty of resource on this planet to go around, I think it's just um, we're being greedy with it and not sharing it with everyone. I think that's what I would have set up in a way that there are no borders, so everybody can travel freely, and also that we um, had everybody had the basics covered, then you'd get to see where humanity can truly go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that approach. I sort of I guess when I was looking at that question for myself, maybe I took more of a coaching approach to it.
Yeah.
I thought, even if we take all 8 billion people to this planet, it's like a reset on everybody's life, right? You're not starting with the same environments, right? The same backgrounds. And I would think that even for me, if I went there, I'm like, well, I was a doctor on Earth. I got really burned out by that. I want to do something different there. I have the opportunity now to be who I really want to be,
Mm,
and everybody would have that opportunity to start fresh, start from scratch, right? I mean, some people
yeah,
come with certain skills that they enjoy and that they want to do, and they can continue doing so. But there's going to be a fair number of people that aren't happy with their disposition in
yeah.
life here on Earth, right? And that's where obviously that's the space us coaches work on, trying to get people out of those burn pits that are their lives and try to get them into a better place. So now we have the opportunity to do that for everyone. We can take everyone over there, and everybody gets a fresh start on life, and you get to be who you really want to be, because we have all the resources. You
Mm-mm.
don't have to be what you were. You can be whoever you want to be.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing approach. I think the way I do that is that's really good. Got me thinking though, is I would get education. You teach children how to find out their core values at school, teach them financial management at school, because those are the things that we're never taught, right?
Yeah.
Learn about parenting skills when you need it. Learn about relationship skills when you need it, because those are the real life-changing things we do, and I have no education on it. I might be able to solve an algebra problem, but I don't know how to deal with my wife. So,
Yeah.
you know, it, it's not of no use to me. So I teach real life skills at school or at the right level when it's
Yeah.
age appropriate. And I think that's when you'll then get people tapping into their potential naturally, not having to work it out. I believe there are schools in the Netherlands and other places where schools are run by the students and they get to pick their syllabus.
Mhm.
So if somebody wants to learn about skateboarding and build a skateboard, they said, okay, carry on. But you need to learn physics on how to design the skateboard and all of that. So they have to then go through some physics lessons to be able to then design that skateboard effectively and efficiently. So I believe that's starting. It's a very slow movement, but I think we're going to get there.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I actually just heard about some of those schools. I agree. I think it was in the Netherlands that I heard about, which I think covers a very fundamental aspect that you mentioned. We are really lacking in our, at least on the public education sphere, right? We don't help people understand who they are. We try to get them
Mm,
ready to be what to be in society, but not who they truly are. Talking about your core
yes.
values, your dreams, your hopes, your desires, right? Figuring out who you really are at the very core, even at
Mm,
such a young age. We don't do that in our public education system, and those are really the things that ultimately determine your level of success. Is do you actually understand who you are? But yeah, so or even like the tax code, right? We don't teach people how to pay taxes, but we expect everyone to know that.
yes.
It's so silly. Well, awesome. Well, listen, Sajjad, it's your opportunity now to ask the next guest any question you desire.
I could steal a question from Tim first because he always asks something like, what's the best sub $100 purchase you've made in the last month that's really changed your life? So that would be a really cool thing to discover from the next guest.
Awesome. So, what's the best sub 100 purchase you have made that has changed your life? That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's actually that's a very thought provoking question because you really have to think about, because a lot of people really aren't that intentional about the purchases, right? They just, especially with the way Amazon now does the pay now, you're just like, all right, here comes another roll of toilet paper to my house. You don't really think it too much about it anymore, about what it is that you're really purchasing, and does that really have an effect on my life? How is purchasing this one item really going to improve my life? I mean, there's obviously some purchases that we think will improve our lives, but I could tell you, like,
Mhm.
based on all the stuff that I've purchased over the years, most of the stuff is in a box or in a corner somewhere, and it's, I used it for like 2 weeks and that's it. So
Uh,
being more intentional about that stuff, that's a good question. I need to think
I'll
about
tell you
that too.
something I bought, which is for pennies really, rather than even pounds. And people will laugh at this, but elastic laces are phenomenal because you just put them on your trainers. You never have to do your laces up again because you just stretch the shoe out and you put your feet in. And I thought that was such a tacky thing to do. And my wife said, "Oh, that's so tacky." And then I saw a friend of mine just recently bought a really expensive pair of trainers. And guess what? The laces were elastic. And I thought, "Oh, this is brilliant." So I'm not so tacky as my wife thinks I am. I'm just, what's the innovator?
Yeah. That's awesome.
I'm trying to
One
convince
thing.
everybody. I'm trying to convince everybody to get these elastic laces. Like my daughter's like, no, don't get this. I mean, this rubbish. Like, no, you keep walking out on the street with your foot half in the shoe because you haven't done your laces. You need
Yeah,
these laces. But
that's
I'll come up.
fantastic. I didn't even know that existed. I did buy. I hate shoe buying because I have a wide foot, and so finding shoes that actually fit me well is really really hard.
Mm,
I was actually trying to look for some dress shoes over the winter, and it took me a month and a half of going to over 30 stores to find a pair of boots, dress boots that actually fit me. It was an absolute terrible experience. But one of the things I noticed is some of the newer athletic shoes don't have laces, or the laces you don't actually tighten them. I bought a pair of Pumas, and they actually work really well for me. So it's one of the few pairs that I bought that I can actually work out in. But I don't even know why it has laces because you don't tighten them. So they're not stretch laces.
Oh.
They're just kind of on top. Like you don't really need the laces. I could take the laces out and be perfectly fine wearing the shoes. It's kind of weird.
Oh, so how does it stay on your foot? Is it like an elastic or something there to
Yeah, the whole thing is just kind of tight. Even I was looking at soccer cleats a few weeks ago, and some of the higher end models don't have laces either. I was fascinated by that, right? Because my cleats are still from like 15 years ago. I have very classic Copa Mundials from Adidas with the really long laces that you have to wrap around
Yeah.
the shoe itself. And that's what I still used to play. But the newer models, they're a vastly different design. It's really fascinating how this technology has on in shoe wear has improved in ways that I didn't even know was possible because I
Mm.
rarely go out and buy shoes because it's a terrible experience for me. Anyways, enough of shoes. We're talking about
That's
coaching here.
that's a
Let-
cool conversation.
I know, right? So listen, how can people reach out to you? How can they connect with you if they want to work with you?
Best thing is either on LinkedIn, Sajjad Najafi, or our website, ssncoaching.com. My wife and I both sort of certified at the same time. She sort of focuses on women's coaching, but you can find us there. We have something on Instagram, but I think the website or the um, LinkedIn is the best for me.
Okay, awesome. I'll make sure all those links are in the description
Thank you.
below for people to click on it and connect with you more readily. That's awesome. Any final last words from you to the world?
I think the final words I'd say is be kind to people. That's all. Just smile at, even if you can't do anything for them, just smile and let's make somebody happy in your day.
Yeah, that smile is so
Yeah,
powerful. It's actually one of the exercises that I have in some of my for some of my clients is our brain are fascinating, right? It's such a complex machinery, and yet it's also so dumb at the same time.
yeah,
So if you force a smile for at least 30 seconds every day, even if you're starting off in a more negative mood, your brain will think, "Oh, I'm smiling. I must be happy," and it can turn your
yes,
positivity around. Right? It's fascinating
exactly.
how something as little as even just
That,
forcing that smile
yeah,
can have such a profound impact on yourself and others around you.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Just a little hack, isn't it? It's just smile and, like they say, smile and the world smiles back at you. So
Yeah. It's so beautiful. It's so simple, and it works. So that's awesome. Well, listen, Shad, thank you so much for this conversation. This was
thank you.
awesome. I loved every minute of it. So
Me too.
thanks for doing this, and
My
let's
pleasure.
be sure we stay connected and keep collaborating.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Felix.
All right, I really hope you enjoyed that. The questions that I asked towards the end are from my new book, The Simple Networking Tool. It's a great book that redefines how we network. It's all about who someone is and not what they are. So if you want to get your own book, it's available on Amazon. If you want to learn more, there's videos about it here on YouTube. So you can check out this amazing new social science experiment. I'm so excited for it. If you do get a book and you do start your own, please let me know how it goes and what your experience is like. I'm working on the second edition and I want to make it the best one yet. So be sure to tag me, let me know how it goes. Thanks for watching.